Welcome back to the SSL Challenge, Season 2, Stage 2, Match 2 coming up.
Day 1, though.
Oh, yeah, it is day 1. I was trying
so close.
So hard.
On Saturday, you can.
That's
you can
right.
Do that, yeah.
Yeah, we are going to have a double day of SSL Challenge. You get SSL Challenge here on Thursday. Well, it's Thursday in Korea, and then you also get SSL Challenge on Saturday. And there's going to be 3 best-of-5s both of those days. We've just finished up our first one, which definitely went the distance. We had crazy games, that really weird cheese that I had no idea how to call. I think we all appreciated learning a little bit more after that about what it takes to break down a Terran and really what it takes to break down a Zerg too. Bunny able to come back from a crazy early deficit to win game number 5 in the end.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to be too negative, but I think I'll stand by my stance.
Are you going to be mean to the Bunny?
No, I think I'll be more mean towards the impact. I was really hyped. He actually made it into Stage 2 this time around, and I was hyped after his games against Hush. Maybe a little bit too hyped because, concerning the player that he was going up against.
Yeah.
Perhaps we needed to see him at a bit of a higher stage, and here we are on the higher stage against Bunny, and he there were a lot of mistakes made in that series by both of those players.
Yeah.
Safe to say they aren't in the top 3 for our 6 players that we have here in Stage 2. I think that's definitely ByuN, Su, and Rogue.
Right.
But they're definitely like the number 4 and number 5 guy trying to stick their way in. And we'll see if they can eventually do that. But that series was not very indicative of their, fantastic player or anything like that.
Certainly not. If you see me looking off over here, we're actually in a different spot in our studio, and we can see the Korean cast. And I have absolutely no idea what is happening on that screen. It's like they're like running up, showing pictures of paper in front of the screen. Like, actually, we could do that, Valdez. What we could do is
do whatever we want.
Well, that is very true. But we could so we have
this is our broadcast now.
A tablet that we can read chat and any messages that come in. So if you want to send messages our way, you can certainly do that at Rapid Casting and at Brendan Valdez. And we could actually just run up to the camera and show Twitch chat what it looks like. Twitch chat is like that. You ever have that friend that never looks in the mirror when he goes out and he just shows up and you're like, dude, what happened? And he's got stuff all over his face. He's like, oh, sorry, I just woke up and walked out the door.
I had some breakfast.
Yeah, I've definitely been that guy a few times after a rough day or night or something. Twitch chat doesn't know what it looks like, Valdez. So if we show it in front of the camera, just oh, he's doing it again. He's just so our Korean cast is taking his cell phone and he's holding it up to the camera and then scrolling through the cell phone on air. I'm like, dude, sick Twitter feed, man, but.
They're talking about it's like comments that are made on, I think it's Twitter up there.
Is that Twitter? I thought it was actually something else.
Maybe it's something else. I think it's Facebook, actually. They were telling the casters to come down because it's funny, we have a live audience today, but they're actually still upstairs instead of on stage, which is actually empty. So the Korean fans are actually watching on the big screen here.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an interesting setup. This is our first SSL challenge that has had the audience downstairs and the casters upstairs and us over here on the side.
First audience.
Yeah, first audience for SSL challenge. We do this about once or twice a year, I think, or once or twice a season, where we bring the SSL challenge casters down here. Did that last season, I think.
We did that for Fastlane.
Oh, for Fastlane, yeah. So now we're bringing it into the regular season. If you guys are ever in Seoul, of course, you're welcome to come down to the studio to watch SSL Premiere and sometimes SSL Challenge here at the Nexon Arena.
On occasion.
We'd love to have you out here.
Yeah.
This is our sort of variety show time where we just get to talk about basically whatever we want. We can talk about how crazy that game was, how crazy the next game coming up is going to be. Maybe a little bit more one-sided, though.
Yeah, JJAKJI has a giant weight on his shoulder. He's like, what am I going to do against this guy?
He's like Rock Lee, and he tries to take off the weights, but they don't untie.
Yeah.
He can't take them off.
The ByuN is actually clawing at his foot. Can't get the ByuN off his leg. He's like, oh, man.
They just finished filming this segment for GSL where they have the players come to ByuN's apartment across the road, and they eat pizza on the floor. I don't know how that's an actual show, but JYP just chills with ByuN and a couple of players in his apartment. And, of course, the ByuN is just, standing there. The ByuN is just, kind of wobbling his head like a bobblehead dog. It's the cutest thing I've ever scene.
Yeah.
Almost as cute as ByuN's play, and I think we're going to get a chance to see that in our next series.
The Korean fans are actually getting a chance to see Newkirk make a special appearance.
There he is.
On the Korean cast.
Hello to our Korean casters. You guys can see them right there on your screen. Big fan of Newkirk. He is finally coming as a Protoss to talk about the SSL that now has only Terrans and Zergs in it.
A funny guy to bring on the cast.
Oh, yeah, that guy's
doubt,
hilarious.
Especially after making changes and, you know, different esports, you know, kind of going around and
he's been
testing out a bit of stuff.
Everything. Now, look at this guy. JJAKJI, we think about him as maybe a GSL champion of the way past, but he has come out in first place in Group A.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think he came out ahead of Bunny in the group after his last win that he did have over Patience, or no, I think it was someone else. But either way, yeah, first in the group, which means that he has to face off against ByuN on day number 1. And yeah, he looks like he's happy. Unfortunately, I don't have an observer PC for SSL Challenge, so I can't see what they're chatting about.
Yeah, that would be the true super secret insight. We can actually just like run over into their booth. No, that would probably not be a good idea. But yeah, just having a cheeky chat before the game. As we phase through our Jin Air Bears, who now apparently are growing a tree, here we have Super Saiyan ByuN number 2. Of course, he came out first in Group B and is definitely the favorite, I would say, to make it into SSL Premier.
Yeah, I think this guy, especially after a bit of failure in Season 1 of SSL Challenge, he's really kicking himself. You can tell that he's been practicing. Did move on over at GSL as well. Wants to make it into SSL Premier if he can. It's very competitive. I mean, there are only 10 players in SSL Premier. It's not like the GSL where you have a round of 32
That's right.
To qualify into, and you have to go through that really rough fast lane where you're playing against former Premier players in order to take their spots if you're coming up from Challenge. So definitely a rough spot to be in.
Well, here you can see our maps for our second best of 5 of the day. Newkirk, Whirlwind, Odyssey, Abyssal Reef, Ascension to Ire are the maps. Not going to see Frost. Not going to see
Overgrowth.
Overgrowth, yeah, that is the other map that we're not seeing. Starting things out on Newkirk Precinct, it's going to be a TVT, so we're getting into the mirror matches. Of course, a ZVZ to follow this one. And I think that going into this, even though we do have the first place players from both groups, there should be a little bit of a deficit. Now, I mean, JJAKJI did do very well in his GSL group. He, I think, eliminated Maru from that group. It was like, oh my God, well, what is happening? The world's falling apart, but ultimately got taken out in the end. And for ByuN, I mean, this guy is just looking hotter than ever. His gameplay, his fashion sense, his new hairstyle.
His hair, yeah.
Oh. Killing it in every single regard.
He's got one of those cool t-shirts that has nonsense English or letters randomly on it.
What is up with that? Does that actually spell?
D-in.
D-E-A.
There's an N there on the left side. Don't really know, but either way, guys, game number 1 on Newkirk Precinct coming up right now.
Here we go. Fly. Oh, see, they're doing that thing again where they're like, fly, better fly.
Yeah.
Jin Air. So here's our first Terran player playing for Revolution Gaming. This is JJAKJI, his opponent in the blue. Is our other Terran. On the other side, Newkirk Precinct is ByuN.
Newkirk, definitely one of those maps where you can get some proxies. TVT experiencing a interesting increase in proxies, you know, in recent times. I'd say in the last 2 to 3 months, we've been seeing players mix that in. Obviously, the infamous game of Innovation versus Maru.
Oh, yeah, that was...
where they proxied each other, and then they traded bases, and it got really out of hand.
There have been some several very, I want to say, memorable TVTs this season. We had Innovation versus, I think it was Alive, where he just like proxied him over and over and just...
The 7-minute best of 3.
Took his lunch money. Then Then there was it ByuN versus TY last season of SSL Challenge, where they took turns proxy, double, Rax, Reactor, Marauder, concussive shell all inning each other. That was a game for the record books, but I mean, because this is on a Newkirk Precinct, I would expect to see this map get split in half. We go up to Mass Battle Cruiser, Viking, Raven.
Oh, yes, of course.
It's going to be good.
Oh, the Korean casters. Ooh, JJAKJI's a second behind ByuN.
Dun, dun, dun.
You know what that means.
Well, clearly he's in a massive deficit, Valdez. I just don't even know. I'm going to stick with the rest of the calls I've been making today and just say that there's no way he can possibly come back from this.
Yeah. Does get his own factory a little bit faster, so perhaps there's something hidden in the build that makes it so. The Reaper coming over here at ByuN, just playing it more defensive back at home with his own Reaper and a Marine actually patrolling.
Doing a little dance. Getting down tonight, up on the top of the ramp. No way that Reaper makes it in there. Watch it just run right on by. Okay, well that's the soft contain Reaper. There you go. That's what we're calling it. On the other side, not going to be reactoring out Hellions or anything crazy like we've been seeing in all of our other builds, but pretty mirrored exactly. Although now, yeah, there is that reactor coming down.
Start parts here for both these guys. Very similar builds, and ByuN definitely the favorite in this one, but we'll see if he can actually come out ahead of JJAKJI. We're talking about how JJAKJI has found some success in the TVT matchup, taking out Maru. Definitely is one of these players that, you know, former champion, he definitely has it in him. It's just really where his form is. For Season 1 of SSL Challenge, his form was not very good, right?
No,
he qualified
really
in, but then he really got kind of dumped on in the first round of Challenge. But this time he's made it to Stage 2.
Yeah.
So he's looking a bit better.
You know, I feel like especially if you have fans that only watch like maybe one tournament or just only watch, you know, kind of casually. Oh my God, it does make it in. JJAKJI, how do you do it? He's gonna get the full scout and see exactly what's in everywhere. Reaper's starting to heal itself up too, so maybe it can squeak right on by. Oh my!
No way.
Okay. Ah, there is justice in the world, but a full scout.
ByuN laughs.
It's like, how does that even happen? I don't even know, but he gets it in the end. Wow, full scout. ByuN's going to get, I guess, a decent scout here with this Viking running across the map. Let's see if there's... I didn't catch whether or not JJAKJI made a Viking of his own. I don't think so. But he does have the Cyclone pushing the front, and that will be very valuable. Okay, yeah, it is Viking versus Viking.
Yeah. Looks like JJAKJI got the first hit as well. Might be able to squeak out one more. Doesn't look like it at the end of the day. Here's ByuN's force that he's got chilling in the main for now. And this Cyclone that did come out for JJAKJI is kind of just patrolling. Did go straight into tank production afterwards.
Yeah, taking a little bit of a divergence here. I think we're going to see, okay, I guess what are we really looking for here? I would say, oh wow, he's actually still going for tank evac. We can't pick the sieged tanks up, but we can just pick up the unsieged ones. And going for I don't want to call this a doom drop, but it also should be pretty easy to scout. Where's that Viking that JJAKJI made?
He loaded up underneath the scan.
Yeah,
right? It's like
I mean, it's not a mystery, right?
Yeah,
and yet he's gonna pre-scan. JJAKJI does have a decent spread in his main, but I think ByuN might even try to like slow crawl this from the low ground.
Oh, he's going for it. He wants that tank. 3 tanks drop out of his own, but they're being shelled from the top here from that Cyclone. At the end of the day, though, he snipes the 1 tank and gets away.
That's actually just incredible. So unsieged tanks obviously have higher DPS, and they don't have like it's hit scan shots, so they just instantly deal damage. So you can take the much lower DPS from the 1 tank, kill it off, and now he drops in the back where there isn't anything to defend for JJAKJI.
Somehow he's making this work.
I don't understand. Is there anything you can do against this guy? he snipes your one tank with his 3 on siege, and then he just comes around and pulls you apart. Like,
he lands the Vikings too. He was making 2 at a time, and I thought perhaps he wanted to control the air, try to, you know, force a position towards the production, and somehow, some way, it actually does work out. He takes out the barracks. The drop coming in. JJAKJI, he wants to break this.
2 siege tanks, though, in the back, very well protected by just the last few little tiny Marines. In the end, JJAKJI will just barely be able to clear it up, but not before taking massive losses.
Let's see if he can get some counter pressure here. These tanks are alone, but they do one-shot together the Marines.
He cannot get the counter pressure. Great defense there. ByuN just on top of his micro up front. Great decision making, knowing exactly how to break into JJAKJI's base. And now JJAKJI, I mean, he's loaded up as well. I don't think his drop will go quite as well on the other side. We'll see how well ByuN defends from it. He's already got the missile turret almost complete.
Yeah, you can tell he's preparing. He knows what he did with that drop. He took out a bunch of the economy, and he knows that a counterattack will be coming from JJAKJI. And after seeing a bunch of medevacs and kind of seeing, you know, what he did himself.
Look at this. He's got missile turret and double Vikings.
Still going for it, though. Kind of an interesting idea. The tanks are going to get sieged up, and the stuff in the back is protected for now. Oh, boy.
What? Okay, well, apparently that's the answer, Valdez. You find the most well-defended air position, and then you run right into it and kill everything. Of course, the real travesty was just nothing in the main there really to defend for ByuN, and so even if just a few of those medevacs make it through, lots of damage there to do. 29 SCVs get taken out, and critical damage being dealt on both sides, but ByuN taking massively the worst trade.
Somehow, I suppose the most relevant phrase you can use in the situation is, when there's a will, there's a way. For ByuN, it was like, okay, this is ridiculous. You're really going to try to force it up this cliff? And then we're like, hey, that was a good trade. And then JJAKJI runs into 2 Vikings and a missile turret, and he gets that drop-off? What the hell is this?
What more do you need, right? Do you need just like 2, 3 missile turrets? What defends that? I mean, ultimately, as soon as you drop stuff on the ground and all you have is anti-air, obviously, that's pretty good. And, for ByuN, maybe the better choice would have been to run the SCVs instead of fight with them, but then you still take massive losses. I don't know the best way to play that, and it's really surprising to me that ByuN didn't either. JJAKJI getting a lot of value done, and you can still see that worker advantage as he's hitting his macro cycles on the other side, both players expanding at the same time.
Yeah, funnily enough, this is going to just turn into a normal game at the end of the day, but yeah, I think you're totally right. Less anti-air and probably having ByuN's tanks in position to be ready to shell would have been the answer. So here we go, another drop coming in from JJAKJI. Looks like there are enough medevacs, or rather Marines, and he takes out both the medevacs here.
All right. Hey, like you said, where there is a will, there's definitely a way to come back into this. Sniping out those 2 medevacs, a great pickoff by ByuN. Now he's going to come over here and try to deal these 2 siege tanks drop on the high ground, and here's his own version of not a Doom-esque drop. That's what we're going to call it, Doom-ish drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doom-ish, that's the...
Hop on, pop a tank drop. There you go. Takes out both the tanks. And yeah, actually, perhaps it was JJAKJI who is the first player in this game to finally overstep his boundaries with the dropping.
There's no stopping where they're dropping. Just like there's no knowing where they're going either. ByuN going to go for it. He doesn't have any siege tanks, but the unsieged do deal that high DPS and help break through, and that's going to do it. GG. ByuN comes back from losing, what was it, 30 SCVs to JJAKJI's counter drop. Takes him out. Wow.
I guess another lesson we learned is never question the senpai.
No, man. ByuN senpai. Good old next excrement coming back with the down and dirty plays.
Excrement. I had forgotten about that.
The North remembers, man.
Thank you for reminding me. For you guys who are a little bit newer to SC2, obviously ByuN was once named at once in.
He named himself literally.
Yeah, he was next excrement. From Team Nex.
Yeah,
so
which
rhymed.
then became like Zenex, but yeah, it did rhyme. It was one of the top tier names of the day. Then he went into like Ghost King Prime, I think.
Yeah.
And all kinds of different places he has gone with his names. But I think ByuN is truly right where you need to stop.
It's his last name. Me and him share that small thing.
It's your last name.
Both of our IDs are our last names.
Oh, hey.
Funny how that works out.
That?
Me and ByuN actually have something in common. I can't believe it.
You just got to dye your hair that sick color and get a Team Expert jersey.
I did once have my hair as bright blonde. That lasted for about 3 weeks.
Didn't
and
Wolf
then I
do that
changed
too?
it. Yeah, he had that when he first came out here, actually.
Okay.
I think like right after he moved.
ByuN's got the power of the barley tea coursing through his soul. Of course, a big smile on his face after taking out that game. But hey, it's a best of 5, and we've seen already one best of 5 go the distance today. JJAKJI with some great decision-making, even better execution, really surprisingly just bulldozing his way through into ByuN's space, dealing critical damage, but then, of course, donating 2 full medevacs, and then getting steamrolled again. It's ByuN that takes game number 1 in the end and sets us up for game number 2, our second best of 5 of the night.
And here we go. SCV already out on the map for this Terran player in the red. In the top left, it is JJAKJI from Team Revolution Gaming. And up in the top right, it is ByuN, the blue Terran, able to eventually take the win.
What is that look on ByuN's face? I think he's planning shenaniganry. In the end, no, he's probably not. But he does have ByuN. It's JJAKJI that's going for it. Okay, so this is the 66% play where you don't know where your opponent is, so you kind of have to take a guess. You're like, okay, well, I'm going to assume he's not one place. And right now, JJAKJI is assuming that ByuN is not spawning in the lower left-hand corner, and he's correct.
It's a good assumption to make in this game, I suppose.
Yep.
It looks like it's a little bit closer to the bottom right, but
yeah,
you can't be perfect all the time.
I mean, you can place it identically in between the bases, but then you risk being in the scouting path, and you do ideally want to have a best-case scenario where you're like, okay, well, if he's here, I really am in a good spot. If he's in the position ByuN is actually in the upper right-hand corner, then it's not quite as close, but it's still in a proxy position that'll give him an advantage. I'm interested in why JJAKJI is choosing to pull this out. Maybe it's just early enough in the best of 5 that he's playing to the series, saying, hey, if I drop this game, at least I still get another chance to come back.
Yeah, I think especially after game 1 where he got ahead and then tried a little bit, maybe he's lost a bit of confidence and he's saying, okay, let's try for a bit of my own shenaniganry. And he was able to get the scout first here for ByuN, so let's see how this works out for him. Reaper versus the SCV. ByuN, he knows now.
Oh, he actually lets the mine bounce him closer and then runs away so the SCVs can deal the rest of the comeback damage. And, of course, with more Reapers on the way, you will eventually have that critical mass. ByuN knows what's coming, and with the inability to complete that low-ground command center, it'll eventually either have to be canceled or maybe used as leverage to keep JJAKJI occupied.
Yeah.
Occupied. I don't know what that is. It's
occupied.
What is it, like a cream pie launcher that just has really good accuracy? The occupied.
That'd be nice, actually.
I'm pretty sure like Looney Tunes would buy that in a heartbeat. But trying to break his way up the ramp is JJAKJI. He does have to watch out for those KDA charges. And yeah, there is the cancel. Finally forced out. Reapers in a bunker. This is truly the next level of excrement here from Next Excrement.
Well,
he's the recipient of it.
Yeah,
here,
he's the recipient. And look at JJAKJI. He gets that CC down, but not only that, he's going to add a third one in the main.
You really double expand behind that. I mean, that is just what we like to call next level optimism. I mean, okay, well, this is, I guess, decent damage, but the Cyclone's going to come out and absolutely destroy. Okay, let's try this again. And absolutely destroy that bunker. Maybe it gets salvaged in time. Yeah, there it is. But on the other side, here comes ByuN with 2 Reapers and 1 Dream. Look at this. He's going to see what's going down. And, you actually saw that little smirk on his face for a second. It's like, really? You're really going to go for triple CC? And, I mean, yeah, sure, ByuN Reapers are, the likes of which the world has never seen, but are they good enough to get himself back from a pretty rough spot?
Well, 5 kills and a full scout of the main is pretty good, I'd say. It's fantastic, actually, for ByuN. Does have his own second command center, But you can see that he's going for Cloak Banshees as a follow-up and is adding a bunch of add-ons here. So perhaps he wants to go aggressive on the face of seeing JJAKJI going for that big greedy play with that third CC.
Maybe that's the way to do it. It should be also with third orbital, so lots of scans. So this Cloak Banshee may not be the most effective. Of course, there's Vikings and Cyclones on the way, so JJAKJI is going to lock everything down on his side. Here comes the first Banshee. Of course, Cloak not totally done, but it should be by the time the Banshee gets over there. Right in time, also JJAKJI with the missile turrets, so he's got detection, anti-air. Looking pretty good.
Yeah, here we go. The Banshee coming on in. 10 seconds until the Cloak is ready. And you can see that ByuN with adding the extra 2 barracks and the Cloak and no sign of a third CC means that he definitely does want to punish JJAKJI for this. Do see the Cloak is done, but the scan coming in.
Well, and the Cloak cancels the lock-on as well, so that was actually... He probably should have preemptively scanned just to make sure, but
yeah,
that does mean that the Banshee gets to survive a little bit longer.
Not getting all too much damage at the end of the day. Does force a second scan, which is quite nice. But as you said before, JJAKJI is more than ready for this with all of the missile turrets up and ready. But here we go. This is the big push with the tanks coming in where he can begin to shell the front. And the stim is right there on the low ground. That's a weird spot to put it in.
Yeah, that's in a very vulnerable spot. Even with this Banshee, it's cloaked, so it can move forward and snipe off these SCVs. Where's the scan?
He's waiting on it. I see a mule in that mineral line.
Yeah, that was not the mule you were looking for. Finally, the Banshee does get taken out, so there's no more high ground vision unless ByuN wants to scan himself. And the siege tanks coming out here for JJAKJI and these landed Vikings and Cyclones on the high ground. That's going to be enough for him to hang on for now.
Yeah, we got a tank, the Liberator, the Vikings, the air control. ByuN does have a follow-up push with stim and combat shields. We'll be adding in some medevacs to also go for this. I have a feeling he's going to try to pull JJAKJI apart with some drops and then perhaps run up. Either way, he's definitely going to try to delay the third base for as long as possible. You can see there's already a scout at the other location. And we do see JJAKJI is flying that orbital over to the lower location that ByuN has not scouted just yet.
JJAKJI taking the watchtower in the middle, so at least have that as a staging ground. Make sure that he sends a message to ByuN, kills his Marine. Takes it over and is now wrapping around the long way.
I'm just kind of curious as to why JJAKJI's moving out right now. Because his army is always going to be smaller than ByuN's if he went for that third CC.
Also now he has just absolutely nothing back at home, and all the SCVs actually the siege tank running forward. Nice hot pickup to keep it safe and sound and drop it back on the high ground, but still these 2 Cyclones on the low ground and all the rest of JJAKJI's forces finding a nice sort of a chink in ByuN's armor.
Stim up the ramp. There is a tank available. Scan coming down here. Wants to take out that combat shields. Will do that quite easily. The shelling of the tank, no repair. The SCVs are just going to fight, and the tank just disappears to the tank fire of ByuN.
ByuN just so solid. He's defending back at home as well. Sure, he had to lift from his natural, but there's nothing to defend back here for JJAKJI. Stim up the ramp as well. The combat shields versus no combat shields means ByuN wins every time.
There is just that one tank in the back there for JJAKJI, whereas ByuN actually still has control of his main. ByuN does, rather.
Yeah, you can see ByuN actually building a Viking right now. It's really important because if we do have like the sickest of sick base trades, then of course that Viking is going to be sort of the button that wins it.
Yeah.
I don't know, it seems like ByuN has just dealt so much more damage at this point that even though JJAKJI can kind of hang on, he's still losing a lot.
He's going to be holding on to the dream of that big economy with the 2 orbitals just huddling together for warmth at this point, not doing much else as JJAKJI is stuck on this one base. ByuN is too, but ByuN does have control of JJAKJI's production there.
JJAKJI's pulling out, he's coming back home. going to try to break this and then restabilize. I mean, he does have that 3 command centers. Maybe that's his way back into the game. But first, he has to deal with ByuN's siege position.
Yeah, we're talking about that base trade situation, and taking out the starport is really smart there by ByuN. Here is the sandwich by JJAKJI. Should be able to clean this up with, you know, not too many losses at the end of the day. But again, taking out that starport is going to be quite nice. ByuN still having a pretty massive lead when it comes to the supply.
That is very true. So ByuN has the higher army. I do want to say that those 3 command centers, maybe there's a world they kick in and JJAKJI inevitably comes back, but I think ByuN, of course, always very proactive, very good with his reactions and his timings. Knows that he still has that aggressive advantage.
Scan coming down, wants to see the angle. You can see the orbital is running away down to the south. Fly away.
Trying to escape, and I guess it will. Okay.
Doom drop. Looks like JJAKJI, he's reading this, the scan coming down, but it's a fake. The tanks are going to unsiege here.
Oh my god, ByuN just pulling JJAKJI apart. He tries to head back into his main, but it's not the right direction. That gives ByuN a great place to find purchase in the natural, stimming through, taking out all of JJAKJI's tanks.
That's going to do it. He crushes the army. ByuN even taking a 3rd command center back at home. He's not going to need that, as this game is now quite over. The jukes out of ByuN are what eventually
love it.
Kill him.
Now, okay, cute play there, JJAKJI. He's going to mass mine with mules from a secret hidden proxy base, but no, he has half of ByuN's army supply, and I think ByuN should know that he has the opportunity to just, you know, stim in and win it. I mean, siege tank on the high ground, okay, I guess that's, you know, one way to hold on for a little bit, but I mean, ByuN of all players should know exactly how to tear this apart.
Yeah. Well, we do know ByuN's favorite way to win a game is to stim it and win it, so let's see if he actually does do that here. The tank is not sieged. That is a crazy amount of Marines stimming up the ramp here. Doesn't look like it's quite enough. Wanted to back off. In the end, he will lose this fight, but there are a total of, count them, 0 SCVs on the map right now for JJAKJI. 0.
That's quite a low number, Valdez. I feel like if you started counting, you should at least make it there.
Yeah, it's good to start from there, I've heard.
ByuN now with his 3rd base up, and I want to see if JJAKJI's when he sees the 3rd base up here, I mean, especially when that Viking just completely intercepts him. Okay, well, we're just kind of waiting for a little bit. I mean, JJAKJI's got a few Marines, now 2 SCVs, and 1 dream of maybe trying to come back in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have the numbers directly in his face like we do as we're casting or as you're watching, but I think he can see just how grim his position is, especially after coming in, seeing that 3rd base finishing up. This orbital might also be scouted by ByuN. It's going to be close. Okay, he does see it, and that should put an end to that base. So here we go, the last final attack, trying to get on top of those tanks, but ByuN does siege them in time.
Oh wow, like just a few tiny little Marines from ByuN. Just I don't know, it's just ByuN just on top of everything. He doesn't let the proxy base, or the, I don't want to call it a proxy base, the, I guess, somewhat hidden base stay up for very long. Just playing this very carefully, very safely. He's defending his 3rd base and forcing this orbital to make a run for it once again.
The Nomad orbital, just looking for a place to graze and get some food somewhere. Here we go.
This is going to do it. JJAKJI trying to run forward and siege in the back lines. He does get his siege tank siege, but it's just at the last second. Too slow. ByuN takes a win over JJAKJI.
Yeah, and that came off of the back of JJAKJI going for a proxy on Whirlwind, which is, I mean, if you guys are Pro League fans, that's like TY trying to proxy Classic on Frost in the finals of 2014.
I believe way back there, Valdez.
I mean, it's just one of those things that it's a big gamble. It's not necessarily going to pay off, but it did pay off for JJAKJI, but then he moved out with his army and tried to base trade, which was not the situation that he wanted.
I mean, they were both getting damage done, right? JJAKJI was in a position where it's like, okay, you can shut down the natural. At that point, ByuN was only on 2 bases versus JJAKJI's 3. So you kind of think to yourself, well, maybe there's a way that things can equalize, but ByuN just had too much army right in JJAKJI's base. He was on top of the production. It's like, I don't know. And ByuN, of course, does get cleaned up there by JJAKJI, but has way too much coming in behind it. So
it's one of those little things, you know. If you're going to move out on a big map when you're ahead in economy, you should at least have some spotters to see the enemy's movements. And he did have the watchtower, but at the end he was already too far out on the map and did get taken out there. So ByuN looking for that 3-0 in his first matchup against JJAKJI in this TVT. Can he do it is really the big question here. I think there was not a question about whether he would win, but now it's, can he sweep?
Well, we all knew that ByuN is a very strong player. Of course, he should have an advantage in this matchup. In fact, I think the last 2 times these guys have been against each other in like IEM Shanghai and then SSL last season, ByuN 2-0 both times. So we've already seen a 2-0. Can we see a 3-0? I think it's looking likely. So let's introduce our players. Our red Terran, bottom right-hand corner, playing for the red team, but in the blue chair, somehow, it's JJAKJI.
Yeah, and the blue Terran in the red chair, that is ByuN.
How could we let this happen, Valdez?
I'm not sure.
We're so consistent all season long.
It's not too hard to get that down, but sometimes the simplest things are the hardest.
Okay, so let's see where these barracks are built. All right, they're both in base. Whew! We get a standard game, at least for now.
Gas first for both of these players, and double gas for ByuN.
Oh boy, what does it mean?
Double gas for JJAKJI.
Hey, all right. Okay, so we, I don't know, we've seen, I think, the single Hellion opener, so it's like a Reaper expand into single Hellion, and then you get out there and you play the little game of tag up front. This is Odyssey, and I think kind of like maybe similar to Abyssal Reef, but not quite as much. This is a map where you kind of expand along the edges, not necessarily towards your opponent. You can go for the third base on the low ground, but I actually see quite a few players just take the northern one and keep going up that direction.
Yeah, there is a big, wide open main, that very long cliff, and especially in TVT you see a lot of doom dropping, so perhaps that will be one of these kind of win conditions. If you can get a good doom drop into that main and actually take over the production of your opponent, could be a nice move to make.
I mean, hey, JJAKJI knows all about that, right? We saw him break through a very highly defensive position and just destroy ByuN's economy in his main. I hope that that's not what it kind of boils down to in this series, or in this game in the series, just because I really want to see JJAKJI get an example of showing kind of what he does best. And if things equalize and he gets his economy and his macro up, he's actually in a great spot. And you know, we tout ByuN for having really great macro, but if you do have to give it to JJAKJI, and if he is able to stabilize, when it comes to actually like pulling your full armies to bear, he's actually pretty good at that. Now, the buffer SCV forces kind of run back. But to finish what I was saying about JJAKJI, I really hope that we do get a chance to see maybe 2-3 bases up and things not start to snowball like we may be seeing right there.
Look at ByuN, he's like, oh no!
How could I have done that?
Oh.
Right as I'm hyping ByuN is a great macro player, he loses the micro, or great micro player, loses the micro war.
What have you done?
What have I ByuN? He is going for Banshees, but then again, both players are these going to be Cloak Banshees? Probably not.
Doesn't look like it. This is going to be a better army for JJAKJI. That grenade is not enough to pull it back, but the Reaper for ByuN is going to sneak by.
Oh, ByuN, so sneaky. And yeah, he's going to get into a completely undefended main. Have his way with that mineral line. First Cyclone pulled back as it is very low. Second Cyclone actually committing. Look at that micro, look at the control! He's so sick!
Oh boy. The face of JJAKJI tells the whole story. As ByuN, he's almost expressionless, funnily enough, after a play like that.
Say, Valdez. I literally can't even more literally than I've even ever been able to literally before.
I know what you're saying, man. I get it.
Do you know what I am saying?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely the way I'm feeling as well. ByuN, his micro is out of control, and he just made that guy look silly. So, to add insult to injury at this point, I suppose, we'll see if this Banshee can do much. The Raven is going to spawn. The Marines are ready. Of course, the Banshee can fight decently well against just Marines. And JJAKJI is ready back at home as well. But his Banshee is going to go down, and so will ByuN's.
I just can't think of a better way to illustrate the differences between these two players. I mean, JJAKJI is pretty solid. You saw him at almost complete build parity. He even kind of won that early micro war with the Reaper, and ByuN kind of had that smile on his face for it. But when it comes down to it, and it kicks in the clutch, ByuN just too damn good. Like, oh my god. All right, well, I mean, JJAKJI does still have this forced defending, kind of buffering at the ramp. It's, I guess, a pretty good spot to be in. This have Raven versus Raven. And I guess more Marines in line. Yeah, if ByuN tries to break through this, I mean, maybe he gets a better auto turret, but yeah, JJAKJI's able to push him back.
Yeah, he's got the better position there on top of the ramp, as you were saying. And even though ByuN did get that early lead and did kill a couple more SCVs, the game is not going to end just yet, as we do have both of these players just sitting back a bit more. JJAKJI actually going to find this Raven. See if he can defend with some auto turrets of his own, perhaps.
Where are those two Ravens going? I thought they were going to like do Raven battle against each other. They both drop the auto turrets and run away. It's like, oh, okay, well, I think two Ravens win that. But taking just a little bit of annoying damage there. Finally, the auto turret dies, and that means it's time for auto turret number 2, Valdez.
Right when he's not looking, and the pull is late.
Whoa.
Another 4 free SCV kills, but JJAKJI, it looks like he's had enough of this game. He wants out. He's going for the attack.
Indeed he does. I mean, JJAKJI pushing out once again with a very similar army supply, and when you're doing that as Terran, you have to know that you'll have a disadvantage.
I don't know what's happening.
what were we counting down
They were counting down to something. I don't know exactly what it was.
Was it the push hitting here for ByuN? I don't know, but we were definitely counting down there. JJAKJI's going to run in, but like I said, he's just not going to have enough by the time he gets there. ByuN defends pretty perfectly.
I think it just hit 9 o'clock. I'm not 100% sure why they were counting down to 9 o'clock in Korea.
Counting down to 9 o'clock?
But, yeah.
Hey, guys, it's 9. I guess we all know that now.
We could have a round of applause in the chat for us here.
All right, well, JJAKJI is repulsed, but not for long. He is going to continue to drag his way into the base. ByuN with cool Marine biker and a siege tank back to back. Tank is picked up, but here come the boys. And, of course, a couple of nice cyclones there from ByuN push JJAKJI away again.
Yeah, slapping that push down. Now up 23 supply. Has a better economy, has a better army, has stim and +1 finishing up 2. No upgrade here for JJAKJI. Looks like perhaps it is ByuN's turn to move out onto the map and go for a push here. You guys can see the unit tab up in the top left. Definitely does tell a bit of the story. 24 Marines to 8 at this point in the game.
One of those is a larger number than the other, Valdez. And I think it's no surprise that it's ByuN's. He is going to continue to get this harassment done on the other side, and sooner or later he'll be on that other side. This is what JJAKJI's about to find out right now. Siege is just barely in time. It'll push ByuN back. It's like, okay, he has made his expand and is now attempting to defense it against what is a very strong army from ByuN. Which way does he go? Which way does he go? Looks like he's going to go down around into the shrouded main.
This is what I was talking about. JJAKJI, though, does get a scout with his orbital. Funnily enough, scan comes down and into the main ByuN goes.
There he goes. Yep, medevac stall into the main, and he'll get the siege tank siege in the background. Tons of Marines stimming forward, trying to deal damage to this production. He's right on top of it, but JJAKJI does have a siege. They're not siege in time. ByuN Stims on top and takes him out.
Really nice play there. That's going to be it. GG ByuN with the fast 3-0, saying, hey, I want to get out in first, giving us a little fist pump. Nice fan service for everyone out there. And he's looking pumped up. JJAKJI, though, has got to be feeling the pain getting 0-3'd in his first match in the second stage.
Yep. Does not feel good, man. That's for sure. For JJAKJI, I feel like he had moments of parity with ByuN in that game. Maybe early on, he was like really close, really even on the builds, and then ByuN just pulls out that 6 save on the double cyclones, and then just really is able to keep JJAKJI out at every turn. Not so at the end of that game, and that will do it for our second series of the night. I feel like probably the expected outcome, ByuN winning, but I didn't expect to see the 3-0. That guy is just so good.
Yeah, that's a stinging loss when, you know, you get 2-0'd, you get 2-0'd, and then you get 3-0'd. You just can't seem to find a way to beat this guy. And that's what it feels like for JJAKJI right now. We'll no doubt have a bit better luck against some of the other players we have here in SSL Challenge. Second stage, he's definitely not out of this just yet, but ByuN definitely making his mark for all the other players too, saying like, I'm the guy to defeat, you know, come at me, bros.
Well, we are going to be heading into our final series of the night, and it's going to be it's going to be a best of 5 between 2 players who could definitely kind of challenge ByuN for that being the player to beat. We have Rogue versus Sue. It's a rematch of the decider match in GSL, or not the decider match, the qualifying match from GSL just yesterday. And these are just 2 of the most badass Zerg players you will ever get a chance to see. Easily contenders for best Zerg players in the world. Sue now eliminated from GSL after a very difficult, heartbreaking loss to Dark in the deciders match yesterday. So really, this is kind of the tournament he is playing for. We'll get a chance to see him play a best of 5 against Ro coming up next.